We will call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. I want to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 1 territory and the land on which we are meeting is the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples and the homeland of the Métis Nation. As a council and a municipality, we will continue to work on moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. If I could ask for a motion for the adoption of the minutes.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held at City Hall on September 25th, 2023 be adopted as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Massey. All those in favor? Thank you. We just have a new face around the table tonight, so I thought I would call on the chair of the planning district, Councillor Espy, to make the introduction.
Thank you, Worship. Through yourself, I would like to formally welcome our new general manager of the Portage Planning District, Portage Planning District, Mr. Grant Gessel.
Welcome. Okay, we have no delegations this evening, so I'll open public hearing for a request for variation PC 71-23 6408673 Manitoba Inc., 15th to 13th Street Southwest. I'll ask if there is anyone here here to speak in favor of the application. If you just would like to come to the podium, please. And do you see a little green light on there? Thanks.
I do now.
Okay, if you could just state your name for the record.
I'm Rob McMullen.
Hi, Rob. Would you like to give us a statement, or are you just here to answer questions?
I guess I should give us a statement.
Okay.
Just to give you a little history. As we know, of course, with the new construction, we're losing the direct parking. Overall, we were going to lose at the restaurant about 14 stalls, which is part of progress. It has to happen. Then about 9 weeks ago, the house behind us came for sale. Although we knew there was no guarantee of being able to convert it to a parking lot, based on losing 23% of our parking, the overall impact on the restaurant was going to be significant. We had to gamble, buy it now, in case someone else bought it. Sent out neighbor letters to all the people on 15th Street, given my cell number, explained to them what I was doing, explained to them if you have any issues, let's discuss it. Yes, we've removed the house. We have put down gravel. The continuation plan is if the lot is ever approved, if the lot is ever approved to be joined with the existing restaurant, converted to commercial, the plan is to pave it. Some of the neighbors came to me and brought up some concerns that I addressed. One was lighting. Would I be putting lighting in there that would affect them? We went out there at about midnight one night, looked around and went, no, there's no need of putting lighting in there. It's not going to affect anybody. The neighbor directly south of us had a concern about activity later on at night, so I came to an agreement with him that we would put in a sliding fence after the construction is completed. Because at this point in time, there's really no... Is there an exit out of the parking lot right now? Yes, there's an exit out of the parking lot. It doesn't work great without the back 15th. So what I said to him was, I'll put in a sliding gate. We'll close the parking lot at 8:30 at night. That should prevent any problems with disrupting the neighbors. And we really don't need it past 8:30 at night. The only thing I said to him was, we'll wait until the construction's completed because it's so difficult to leave the parking lot now. that still wanted the customers to have that option after 8:30, and he felt that was more than reasonable. The next step that we were going to do was we did put up a fence, but we could only put up a 7-foot fence matching the front of the house directly behind us. It's not until the lots are joined can we extend that fence to be, we put a 3-foot, only because that's all we're allowed. And I agreed with the neighbors that I would put up a 7-foot once the lots are joined. And then we are going to put fencing, again, to help prevent lights running north-south. That's not up yet. Basically, those would only allowed to be 3-foot walls, from my understanding, with zoning. So we'll take our old 3-foot fence that's up there now, recycle the materials, put it there, replace the other one with a 7-foot fence. And the other reason, I know in the 7 years I've been there, and my neighbors have been more than right to bring this to my attention more than one occasion. Actually, almost most of my neighbors have brought it to my attention. Well before the construction started here, was the amount of customer parking on the street that they felt wasn't fair. Although I agreed with them. You can't just tell people not to park there. So I think most of the neighbors were more than happy, because without losing 14 stalls, it was going to cause more congestion on 15th, because those people have to park somewhere. Now with this, if we get the parking lot fully approved, it should lighten the load of parking on 15th. I think that's basically for a statement. I'll be better off answering questions.
Sure. I just have a question. When you said you sent personal letters?
Personal
to-
letters.
Okay.
I didn't do the 100-meter radius, as in what happens with the zoning rules. I just did 15th Street, as I felt. Although I know everybody within 100 meters has a standing, I just felt it wouldn't affect anybody else but the police people on 15th.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. McMullen right now? Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Mr. McMillan. Sorry, excuse me about that. So yeah, the only clarification I have, first of all, I understand obviously going away from any kind of an angle parking to a frontage parking or parallel parking. Even though the spots aren't going to be dedicated to yourself, it is going to open up some spots there once the construction is done. But the question I have for you is, once the year is up, we understand this is only a temporary change now that you have to. So your plan then is to obtain a development plan and then get it redesignated and go for a permanent zoning bylaw amendment. Am I right?
That's already been started.
It's already okay.
That's already in the works, yes.
Okay. And sorry, thank you, Your Worship. That was it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. We'll ask, if we have more questions, we'll ask you. Okay. Is there anyone here else to speak in favor of this application? No? Okay. Do we have any letters to be read off in favor?
No, not in favor.
Okay. I see we have a letter with request, so maybe we could do that first.
Sure, yeah, this one wasn't specifically in favor of or an objection of. They were just making a request, and it was from Nancy Murray. With regards to rezoning of 15 13th Street Southwest for a commercial parking lot, I respectfully request a privacy barrier be put in place on 13th Street side. Presently, the situation imposes a headlight problem and directly affects the privacy of my home. Thank you. Sincerely, Nancy Murray.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak against the application? Hi. If you could just state your name for the record, please, sir.
Name is David Crandall.
David Crandall.
Yes.
Thank you. With a C?
C, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The mic's yours.
I cannot necessarily speak as to whether I'm speaking for or against
Okay.
the application.
Perfect.
That is kind of why I delayed until this point.
Yep.
My concerns are more around whether this application will involve any stipulations in it for usage of converting any of this parking lot to be used for staff use. That is something I would like to see happen. There has been a parking issue on the street. It is not necessarily, in my opinion, with any of the customers that are coming to and from the establishment. It is around the employees and staff that are coming there. The issue is that staff have been parking on the street. It hinders access for convenient parking for residents of the street. If they have people coming to visit them and they can't maybe park in a driveway or something that way. The other issue that we've noticed that has been an issue off and on is during the winter. The staff do not follow the city bylaw, where they are not to be parking on the street on the day after garbage day, which then hinders snow clearing. That's going to be an issue for city staff. If we were able to get an appropriate number of parking spots on the street designated and marked as staff, so the staff no longer need to park on the street, that would just allow the snow clearing to go through. It would open up the residential parking on the street for visitors coming to visit people on the street. And if the street is actually able to be fully cleared end to end, it then also makes that street far more passable. I know that last winter, I don't think it was ever cleared past my house going north. And that's a single time at all winter. So if there's any way I can get confirmation that staff parking would be allocated within this parking lot, I could most likely look towards going onto the approval side of it, yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McMullen, did you want to answer any of those? So the first question is whether you'd be able to designate some of that parking lot for staff use.
But although I can't order them to use it, they have access to it. It will be more convenient for them. I can tell you people are creatures of habit. People won't use the angle parking, so there's designated, I'm hoping to get 3 to 4 angle parking spots there. I'll encourage the staff to use it, and people in general will go, if I don't have to walk as far, I would suggest they're going to use it. But was the intent ever to put up signs, staff parking only? No, but to give the staff access to it, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. And then definitely the question, because I know we've had that concern throughout the city last year of people who work in our downtown area not following the bylaw when it comes to snow removal, and that they're not to park on those streets the day after garbage day. Is that something that you can ensure your staff is aware of by making sure they have the garbage the schedule, so that they're making sure that they're not doing that? Because it is a concern, and we do ask our bylaw to make sure they're ticketing people when they're doing that.
To be honest with you, I live slightly out of Portage on the 26th. Till this moment, I never even knew that was a bylaw. Yeah, that's no problem. I'll just have to find out what days are garbage days.
Yep.
Inform the staff. These days during the winter, there's no parking, although the parking should be limited anyways, because they will have access to the back parking lot, especially in the winter. Nobody wants to walk half a block to a restaurant. But yeah, no, I can tell you that's my neglect. Never knew that was the bylaw until this moment.
You learn something new.
You learn
Perfect.
something new every day.
Yep, excellent. Okay, thank you. Sorry, did council have any questions of either person speaking at this point? No? Is there anyone else here to speak against the application, or maybe has questions? Is there there was one letter of objection to read out, I believe?
Yes, there is, from Jackie Wayne. The first part of this letter was from today. She said, regarding tonight's meeting, I will not be attending. However, I do want to present my concerns. By allowing this business owner to proceed any further is making a mockery out of the process established, as well as the elected officials. Allowing any approvals would further indicate to the business community that they can do as they wish, and it is business as usual since council will approve it later. And if that is so, why should any resident follow the process as it was laid out to me earlier? I have previously sent photos showing the house was gone and the property, known as 15 13th Street Southwest, was already being used as a parking lot prior to me receiving any notices. I asked council to enforce the process. It speaks volumes to me as a resident, as well as others, if council approves the residential lot being rezoned as commercial. Show the residents that we matter. If we don't matter or deserve the respect of receiving such notices to have our input from the planning district and city prior to any removal of buildings off of property, then I, for one, will think twice about who I vote for next. And then previously in that email thread, she had mentioned some other concerns, so they have been copied on here as well. She said, I'm concerned about the increased traffic that is already taking place. I not only have the vehicle lights shining in my kitchen window and extra caution of the vehicles coming out of the drive-through when I am trying to exit my driveway. I also have their supply delivery semis frequently blocking me from exiting my driveway. Now they have already removed the house from the lot behind the drive-through and cut the curb on 13th Street, had it leveled and graveled, and already using it as a parking lot. He also has the Chicken Chef staff parking on the street. I am not the only resident on the street that is opposed to what the owner is doing. When the back lane behind the building was converted into part of the driveway, neither myself nor the resident next door to me were notified. And that was from Jackie Wayne. And at the bottom are the pictures that she had sent.
Thank you. I could ask a question through administration, maybe to planning, just about process. I do know maybe some things were taking place that were stopped along the way, and maybe Mr. Fraser could speak to that.
I'm not sure on your question, like the process of doing the variation or the development plan amendment?
Mostly the fact that the lot was converted into seemed like a parking lot without permission or notification, etc.
He had come in and got a moving permit for the house after he purchased the property. So we issued that, the house was moved off, and then we had to give him a demo permit to demo the basement, take all the concrete out and all the stuff, and then fill it in. The part about the lot being totally gravelled and then an access cut into the fence, we didn't know about that until we got a complaint, and then we went down and looked at it, and I talked to Rob about it. And then we moved, mind you, the planning district only meets once a month, so he was starting the process of getting the development plan amendment, but they had to wait till September 21st. So in the meantime, he applied for a variation to do the temporary change of use for the property, right, to C3. So that's where this is at now. But it'll take approximately 6 months to get the development plan amendment. And then it could take approximately another 3 to get it rezoned.
But currently, as of right now, today, it hasn't been being used as a parking lot until.
No, but it was my understanding that administration had passed out some letters to the neighbors to use it temporarily.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Your Worship, so administration had a meeting with planning discussing the concerns from the local residents. And then we had conversations with our operations department, and in light of the construction, and there was mentioned concerns about traffic flow, we thought it was reasonable that it could be used temporarily until this hearing, and then based on the decision of council, we would move forward and adjust. But there's substantial construction in front of the restaurant that hinders the second exit, and also a lot of congestion regarding parking, so we thought it was reasonable to extend a temporary allowance due to construction, and then based on council's decision to this evening, we will adjust that plan.
So this was a temporary change. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Councillor Massey?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question, I don't know, Mr. McMullen or Mr. Fraser, I'm not sure the statement in the one letter here is concerning, that someone is being blocked in their driveway. One of our residents. Is that happening, in fact, like on a regular basis, or could it?
Sure, Mr. McMillan.
I should hit that in. Have I? No, I just don't see how that's happened. The one person in particular that would, only person's whose driveway that could be blocked if a truck parked in the middle of the street. The trucks always park onto my side. Now, that's under normal circumstances. They will come off Saskatchewan. The trucks will come off Saskatchewan. Pull up to the, let me get my directions correct here, the west side of 15th Street, unload. I do know since the construction, some of them have come up through off Crescent, up through 15th, and as they come up Crescent off 13th, for the most part, they've still been able to pull over to the west side, leaving her access to get out. Those trucks are all done at usually about 6:30 in the morning. If her driveway was ever blocked, I would assume it would be because there were too many cars parked on the street and there was no way for the delivery vehicle to pull to one side. But I mean, I've been out there at 6 o'clock in the morning when these vehicles are getting unloaded. There is 2 other deliveries that are done mid-afternoon, but they're in and out in probably 5 minutes because they're very, very small orders. And that's Morley. And actually Morley from Gardewine actually has been delivering in a pickup truck just so he doesn't have to drive through the construction zone and up the street. So I can't see that being like on a regular basis. Anytime I've been there first thing in the morning, the neighbor directly east of me has access to get in and out of their driveway. Am I saying 100% of the time? Of course not. I'm not there every Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning at 6 o'clock when that truck shows up. But I would suggest if it is happening, very, very rarely.
Councillor Massey?
Thank you, Mr. McMullen. Well, I think even one time is too many, and I hope that we have a resident saying it's happening regularly. I just hope that you do monitor it. I mean, that's a serious situation if there's a health emergency or anything, and it just scares me if that's happening. So I know you'll look at that and make sure it's not happening at all, because I think.
Well, I know who.
Sorry, just
sorry.
finish. Because I think that's really important that if we want this project to work, we have to address. She's talked about the lights. You've addressed that, but that statement does concern me, and I hope it's looked at.
Thank you.
The simple solution will that be I know who her husband is. I will just inform him, or I'll knock onto her door and just say, if there's ever an issue, let me know. If you let me know the day, I'll know who it is if it's ever blocked. Because my the delivery drivers are scheduled.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have a specific date where this occurred, I would know who to address it with.
Thank you. Anyone else? My other comment, Mr. McMullen, sorry, I'll just, one more thing too, is that hearing from more than one resident about staff parking on the street and it being a concern, and that you are, if this is going to turn into a parking lot, I would really encourage you to make some of it staff parking and encourage them to use that parking lot, because it seems like it would alleviate a lot of concerns in the neighborhood, for sure, if you have that opportunity.
Yeah, that will be no issue.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Oh, sure. Come on up, Mr. Crandall.
Yes, just speaking on the delivery truck, I have also noticed that in even the last couple of weeks, it is quite common to see a delivery truck blocking my neighbor's driveway. The truck generally hangs out approximately in front of my house. It would join to the trailer. I believe it's a 53-foot Gardewine trailer, about in front of her driveway. If she does need to get out, she would not be able to. The truck is generally there for approximately 15 to 20 minutes at least. And I have called city bylaws on this exact driver before more than once.
Thank you. Anything else? Any questions? So my comment would be to talk to the driver of that truck and city. Yeah. Thank you. If you just want to come to the mic, sorry. Yeah, thank you.
This has never been brought to me as an issue. Until this moment, as far as I was concerned,
Yeah.
there were no issues.
Perfect. We'll trust that you'll take that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
That'll be easily enough.
Thank you.
Okay.
And also that bylaw's aware of it too. Great. If no other questions or comments, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing. Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship. Be it resolved, and I so move that the public hearing for variation PC 71-23 for 6408673 Manitoba Inc. at 15 13th Street Southwest now be closed.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Porter. All those in favor? And Councillor Meyer, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. Council, as you heard from the Planning and Economic Development Committee, you'll see a request for variation. In front of you there is a sketch of exactly the location, and you'll also see the site plan as drawn. Keep in mind this is for a temporary permit. Temporary variation. Where am I at here? There we go. So the issue is to a temporary change of the land use, which is under Section 97.2 of the Planning Act, to change it to C3 Avenue Commercial Zone. This will allow them to use the land for a parking surface lot, and of course the owner must apply, as already indicated, and obtain a development plan amendment for redesignation and zoning bylaw amendment for the property within a year. The background, as you've heard from both the applicant and those against, is that he must apply for the development plan amendment and redesignation of zoning bylaw within the year. So rationale is due to Saskatchewan Avenue's new design. Parking stalls will be reduced at the front of the building. The property is in a single family zone, residential, so R1, R2, R3. The application has been circulated to various city departments. There have been no concerns on that part. Public notices have been sent to all property owners within a 100-meter radius, and the concerns have been noted. Administrative recommendation is that, and I so move, that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the variation request of 6408673 Manitoba Inc. for a temporary change of land use under Section 97.2 of the Planning Act to C3 Avenue Commercial Zone to allow the property to be used for a parking surface lot, with the following conditions: that a development plan amendment for redesignation and a zoning bylaw amendment to rezone the property be applied for and obtained within 1 year at the property known as 15 13th Street Southwest and legally described as Lot 181, Plan 15 in the parish of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Espy. Any comments or questions? Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship. I actually have two comments on this for Council's information. First of all, it does concern me and disturbs me when I do sometimes see, how do you say it, the ask for permission or beg for forgiveness story. And we have had this come up a couple of times, and whether it's by accident or whether it's by design, I'm not here to question that part of it, but it does bother me when it does come up after the fact. That said, I do have to look at it and say, hey, if this was not in play yet and somebody was just coming for it, would I still approve it or not? The question or the answer I have in this case is that I would certainly favor or vote in favor of it. The circumstances we have with the avenue right now being all the construction and changes for a property owner, and there's two things I want to talk about here real quick. For a property owner to invest time, money, and resources to create more parking stalls for a business to alleviate some of the issues that he perceives are going to happen, I think is a worthwhile investment. And I think it's something council has to support as long as it's within the realms of the zoning bylaw. Second thing is that parking on a street, I get. I mean, when you do have a development corridor and you've got businesses all up and down Saskatchewan Avenue, I too live off a street where there's development right at the end of my street. I do, unfortunately, as well, like anybody, have to put up with parking down my street. It is a public parking area, and people can park there for wherever they want. I do get the inconvenience of it because I'm inconvenienced myself at times as well. I don't believe it's up to council to indicate to a business owner of where their staff can or can't park. I do appreciate the recommendation, and I do feel that this applicant is and will take the steps to address that, although it's not up to us to tell them where their staff can park. It's a public street. Second part of it, for snow clearing and so on, I get that. It's not up to the business owner to really police the people that are parking on that street on a snow removal day. I do believe the applicant will address this as well, but it is up to our bylaw enforcement officers in order to enforce the anybody that's parking on that street. You get a couple of tickets. Quite simply, I don't think you're going to park there anymore on that day. You're going to find out why you get a ticket. So I really encourage our bylaw department to step up a little bit to see exactly where some of these cars are parked on that day. And unfortunately, you have to issue a few tickets in order for the rationalization to happen. I do also believe the applicant has addressed a variety of the concerns, but I do want this council to know, like everybody, I do take the citizens' concerns very seriously. Obviously, we all live in this community, and we always want to live to the best that we can. But in this case here, I do believe that the applicant has addressed the concerns that these citizens have had. So with that said, this is something I will certainly speak in favor of for those reasons and go forward from there. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Espy?
Thank you, Worship. I will actually echo and agree with everything that Councillor Meyer has just stated, but I will also add that because this is a temporary change of land use that we're voting on, that it in a way worked out maybe a little bit better for the people that have concerns, because we will truly see what the concerns are in the coming months. So I'll leave it at that, but for now I will be voting in favor of this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Porter?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm in total agreement with Councillor Espy. That was the one thing I was going to mention here, if I had my chance, would be to echo that it is, they are applying for a temporary change of land use under this section, and they need to remind themselves to apply and obtain a development plan. And so, yes, it does give you a year chance to see how things are going to work out, and so I also will agree to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Just one comment. I just want to comment maybe from Councillor Myers. And I think I use the terminology encourage the business owner on some of these things, such as staff parking and street parking, because I do think we as a council have a responsibility to maybe to talk about concerns from some of the citizens and how to be good neighborly business owners. I'm happy to say that a business in our community needs more parking. That means it's a successful business of people being there. So congratulations to them on that. I am glad that this is a temporary solution at this point because of the concerns, and that I'm good faith in this business owner that they will work towards alleviating those concerns in the neighborhood. So I definitely will be voting in favor of this. The other point is that I want to make it clear in some of the comments from the citizens about how we do business and the processes we follow. And we want the processes followed in the way that they're written out. So of course, some of those concerns that they had, we also have, but we've been able to work through those and figure out ways, and hopefully in the future we won't see those happen again. We don't like the asking for forgiveness before permission things happening in our community, for sure. So. Councillor Massey?
I wanted to give you the last word.
That's
Your Worship, but it struck something with me as well that I will be supporting the temporary situation. But really, one thing I've learned about planning, sitting on the planning board and being on council for a year, and I respect Mr. McMullen as a business person. You go to his place, always full, but please work with your neighbors. It's so critical, because once it gets to this table and there's a lot of opposition, it puts us all in an awkward position. So whatever concerns you've heard here today, and others that you hear, please work with your neighbors, and we can all then hopefully get to a successful resolution to your concerns. Mr. McMullen, thank you.
All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay. We will move into Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee. Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee has no report at this point in the meeting.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development Committee. Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. City Planning Economic Development has nothing to report at this time.
Community Services Committee. Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have one item, and that is the naming of the new daycare facility. We spoke a bit about this at the last committee meeting. The City of Portage la Prairie and the rural municipality of Portage la Prairie have been working together to build a new childcare facility in the city with funding provided by the governments of Canada and Manitoba. In 2022, the province of Manitoba announced a $70 million program that would provide funding for new childcare facilities, creating 1,200 new spaces across the province. The new facility in Portage la Prairie, located at the corner of Park Drive and 25th Street Northwest, provides 74 much-needed new spaces for our community. The city provided the service land for the build, with the building and site maintenance to be shared between the city and RM. When selecting a name for the facility, the administration looked for one that would represent the many successful city-RM collaborations over the years. One of the most notable ventures was the signing of the tax sharing agreement in 2000, signed by Mayor Ian A. McKenzie and Reeve James A. Knight. This agreement was entered to enhance commercial industrial development and growth in both the RM and the city by working together in a cooperative manner. As a nod to that successful endeavor, it has been decided to name the new child care facility the Mackenzie Knight Daycare. It is the administrative recommendation, and I so move, that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the name Mackenzie Knight Daycare for the new child care facility located at the corner of 25th Street Northwest and Park Drive.
Moved by Councillor Espy, seconded by Councillor Porter. Any questions or comments?
Oh, sorry.
Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to take a real quick second to comment. As Chair of Economic Development and City Planning, I've had and been witness to many conversations regarding our partnership with the RM. I know I've probably said it 100 times. We are the gold standard in this province of a working relationship, tax funding agreements between the RM and the city. And this is just another example, and I know we've talked about it before, but it's just another example of the good work that's done between both parties. I also knew both Ian McKenzie at the time and Jim Knight at the time on a personal basis, and certainly respect the efforts and everything else that they took. And Council, I really feel that this is a shining example of respect to two individuals that worked hard to bring these two organizations together. Although we certainly have our own issues, but to working together in this area there, and I think it's an appropriate name for the facility. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thanks, Councillor Meyer. Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I totally agree with Councillor Meyer on this, and that's exactly what I was going to say. I support this fully for two reasons. One, the policy of the tax sharing. This daycare exemplifies what that's all about, and kudos for that agreement. When I was with AMM, highlighted that agreement. It is one of the best in Canada, so it's a great policy to base the naming of this. But I also knew Mayor McKenzie and Reeve Knight, and they were at AMM, and I talked to Mayor McKenzie quite often. We lived close together, and I talked to Reeve Knight many times. And the one thing about them, they were very different people, but they came together when it had to be for the good of their community. And that's a lesson we can all take in politics, I think. They compromised, and it made it work. So these two gentlemen really deserve this honor, and I'm pleased to vote in favor of the recommendation.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just a comment, just to let you know that both of Mayor McKenzie's and Reeve Knight's families have been contacted, and they are aware of this, and both honored with the suggestion. So um, there'll be more to follow for sure. So all those in favor? And that's carried. And just on that note, that as we get to doing a grand opening of the facility, that's when we'll tie this into it. So looking forward to that. Thank you. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Porter.
Your Worship, Waterworks Committee has nothing to report
Thank you.
at this time.
Thank you. Transportation Committee, Councillor Porter.
Transportation Committee has nothing to report to Your Worship.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Councillor Massey.
Public safety has nothing to report at this point in the meeting, Your Worship.
Thank you. We have no deferred business. We'll move right into new business. We have the August financial statements. Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee, Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship and colleagues. You have in your package the statements as of August 31, 2023. These are for your information. I want to advise Council that next meeting, next round of financials that come to Council will include the management's projections for year end, and we'll look at some of the variances and the reasons for that. So that's going to be a more in-depth discussion on our financials. Things are proceeding well on our financials. I think there's no big surprises. A couple of things you might ask about the variations. These numbers include Saskatchewan Avenue claims, Q3 claims from July, August, and September. And we still are waiting for our municipal operating grant funding. So when you look at the statements, that's the big reasons why there's variation in those revenue numbers. Having said that, if there's any questions, I'm sure administration can answer them, but these are for your information only.
Any questions? Just a question on waiting for that finance. Is it just a timing thing? We're not on a delay or anything, are we?
Through Your Worship, we submit a claim for the financial amount, and then it's in terms of Saskatchewan Avenue.
Yeah.
There's also our municipal operating grant. It's just the timing things when we receive it. We hadn't received it by the time of the statement, so it's not noted on the statement.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Massey. Another item of new business, we have August building reports. City Planning and Economic Development Committee, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Council, of course, in front of you, you've got both the city and the RM, but of course, being regional, I always direct your attention to the combined totals. As expected, we are higher in the number of permits and the number of dollars, and those are due this time last year. Those are certainly due to a couple of factors. I do want to point out a couple of things. One is that new single housing, unfortunately, is down in values, but it's made up more in the repairs. So sometimes that gives you an indication that people are investing into renovations and so on in their homes, which is a really good sign to see for this time. Commercial is up considerably in the repair side, down on the new side, so you're seeing the same reflection go on, of course, with the commercial buildings. Industrial, same scenario. You're seeing more repair going on than new, so it's again really good to see not only residents but commercial enterprises, industrial enterprises investing back into their businesses for the good of everybody as well. Institutional, you're going to see is the biggest. Obviously, those 5 permits are for the hospital, so you've almost got another 43 million. So those will continue to go on as the hospital continues to get built. You'll also see the RTM is down a little bit, but just the dollar value, not so much the permits. We know that the RTM is a burgeoning cottage industry right now in Portage, and it's really good to see that carry on the way it is. The only thing I want to point out is on the city and the rural side, I just wanted you to note for year to date that both sides are up. It's up not only in the RM, but it's also up for permits in the city, not only for dollar value, but also for number of permits as well. So really promising report. Hats off to not only the Economic Development Committee, of course, which is a bit of the driver behind this, but also to the Planning District. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank welcome Mr. Gessel to the board table as well. And I know we'll certainly see a lot more of this. So good job, everybody. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Meyer. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, one last item of new business. We have award tender for residential recycling collection. Transportation Committee, Councillor Porter.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. This is from the Administration Operations, and it's with the award of tender, the residential recycling collection. The issue here is to award the 3-year contract for residential recycling collection tender 23 OPS 027. The alternative is to award the tender to the Portage and District Recycling Inc. or do not award the tender. The background on this is that the tender was advertised on the city website and Merck's. 6 companies were contacted. The tender for residential recycling collection closed September 28th, 2023. The term of the contract is 3 years from December 1st, 2023 to November 30th, 2026. This tender requested the bidders to provide pricing on curbside pickup only. Recycling is picked up on a bi-weekly basis, therefore the 5 collection days are split into A and B. The city and the PDRI are currently working on a new processing agreement. The city received 2 tender submissions for consideration. Points were awarded on a combination of the ability of the bidder to perform the work, price, and the sustainability criteria. Both companies were quite capable of performing the contract and were very close in the rating portion in envelope A. As the above, the pricing was also extremely close. Once the pricing and rated criteria were combined, Portage and District Recycling was the highest proponent of the tender. These prices are complete with no taxes to be added. Portage and District Recycling, as the price came in with the price of $697,972.50. They received 97.32 points, and the MWM Environmental came in at $686,737.75 with 96.09 points. So it is the administration recommendation, and I so move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie award the contract for the residential recycling collection for the 3-year period of December 1st, 2023 to November 30th of 2026, as specified in tender 23 OPS 027 to the Portage and District Recycling for the tender price of $697,972.50.
Moved by Councillor Porter, seconded by Councillor Espy. Any questions or comments on this? Councillor Porter.
I just have one. It's to do with the, we talked about the submissions for consideration and how the points were awarded on the combination of the ability of the bidder to perform the work, the price, and sustainability criteria. Could you, Your Worship, or anybody from administration, give us an example of what the sustainable criteria would include?
Sure. I know we'll have administration speak more, but I can say there's things such as known ability to perform work, right? If we've done work with them before, community criteria, sustainability, etc. So maybe you want to.
Through your worship to Councillor Porter, approximately 5 years ago, we adopted our procurement policy to add sustainability factors. So 10% of the decision is based on sustainability factors. There's a number of questions in different areas, including employment equity, community support, impact on local economy, that bidders are required to answer, and they are graded basically 1, 2, 3, in terms of 3 being the highest, 3 points being the highest under each question. So when you stack 2 bidders beside each other and the prices are very close, like they are in this case, you can actually have someone like Portage and District Recycling win with a higher price because they have rated better on sustainability factors, which is, again, a procurement policy that is approved by council.
Okay, thank you very much for the answer.
Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship. And sort I'm not against the administrative recommendation, but I just got to ask the question because I haven't seen it that much before, and you may have already answered it. But why are the alternatives only to award the tender to Portage and District Recycling or do not award it? Does council still have the option to choose NW Environmental, or do our bylaws indicate that we have to go in favor of the higher point system? Can you clarify that for me, please?
Through your worship to Councillor Meyer, council approves a procurement policy which administration is responsible for following. That procurement policy aligns with trade principles, trade agreements that nationally we follow. So when a recommendation has been brought forward by administration and follows the policies approved by council properly, the recommendation is to award or not award. Administration will not recommend going against administration's recommendation with another bidder because you could potentially put the organization at legal risk if you did so.
Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for that explanation. It answered my question. So again, the only alternative we have here is to vote. We're either voting for Portage and District Recycling or not. Am I right?
Correct. Any other questions? All those in favor? And that's carried. We have no items of old business, so we'll adjourn council at 6:52 p.m. and we will move right into committee. We'll call committee to order at 6:52 p.m. Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee, Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Worship. Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee has no report in committee this evening.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development Committee, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. City Planning Economic Development Committee has nothing to report in committee, but I do want to comment on one thing. I wanted to reserve my comments from the previous report to council regarding the variance for the parking on 13th Street. I didn't want it to relate to that one specifically, but I just really do want to encourage, and unfortunately our media is not here tonight, and I trust that we're able to get the message out, whether it be through our administration or whether it be through our planning district. Anybody doing anything with any kind of property change, addition, renovation, putting in a parking lot, please see the planning district first. I really echo Councillor Massey's comments. I would hate to see, and I don't know if it's happened before, maybe not during my terms, but where somebody does go ahead thinking that either they're not aware or they feel that they could ask forgiveness later and it still get approved, because it really does bother me when that situation happens. I really hate to see that something would have to be torn down, taken apart, extra costs incurred because somebody maybe wasn't aware. So if there's a way we can get that out, I would really appreciate that, whether it be through the media, through our social media, through planning district, or through our administration.
Thank you. And I'll just comment on that, just because you commented and we're live. The media is not here tonight. I was made aware of that, and we'll be talking to them in the morning, so I'll make sure that they know that.
Thank you. Before I'm done, if there's just anybody around that has sits on any other committees that are related specifically to planning and economic development, if you have anything you want to add to the conversation.
Sure I do, and I thought you would, so I'm going to say, but we just a comment on that we held our first developer day since our last meeting, and it was an initiative that was spearheaded from our strategic planning that we went through in conversations, and I can't remember the date. I don't know what today is. But sometime in the last 2 weeks, and we invited developers all throughout our community as well as throughout the province to come and learn more about the city of Portage la Prairie, as well as city-owned land and maybe plans and ideas we have for residential development, and give them the opportunity to learn more. I just want to give a big thank you to city administration, our city manager, Nathan Pito, Diane Van Art, and also our PRED executive director, Eva O'Leary, for all the hard work you put into that. We've had nothing but good feedback from people on it. We just want Portage la Prairie to be a place that developers think about when they're deciding to do business. So thank you for all of that.
And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Community Services Committee, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through Your Worship, I'd like to call on Mary Kozar just to give us a couple of quick comments regarding the upcoming PCRC AGM.
Thank you. Next Tuesday at 6 p.m., PCRC will hold their AGM at the Fair Board office. So we would like to extend our invitation to all of council and anybody else who would like to attend to hear more about what we've done for the past fiscal year.
Thank you.
Other than that, I would just like to invite any of my council colleagues around the table that have anything related to community services. Now's the time.
I do. We just posted on our social media to let everyone know that we're doing a new initiative and there's something going on at City Hall that we're not really sure what's happening. So we need to investigate it. And so we're inviting the public to come and help us solve the mystery and attend Haunted City Hall on October 29th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. So 5 to 6:30 is light fright for you, Brad, and then 6:30 to 8 is full fright for anybody who can handle it. He's the fire chief. He'll be okay, I think. Also, another thing that just wanted to make everybody aware of, when you leave here, you want to go home and put on CBC, because tonight is the episode of our regional partner Southport Still Standing show happening to learn more about Southport. That's all I have for that.
Well, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Okay, Waterworks Committee, Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Waterworks Committee has nothing to report in committee.
Thank you. Anyone for Waterworks? Just a comment that we have seen our new first water bill go out since our new rate increase. And I've only heard comments from people who like to water their lawn about how high their bill was. So I think our communication going out and about throughout the time has helped people understand why we did it and how much they were going to see on their bill. So well done to administration and finance department for that. Transportation Committee, Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Transportation has nothing to report in committee, but I do have a question of Your Worship. More on the Saskatchewan Avenue project, more so for administration. Just with regards to that Saskatchewan Avenue project, my question is, are we still on track or are we off track with whatever we intended for this year's phase of the project? And if we're not on track, what is the challenge we have recently had or facing at this moment?
Thank you. Mr. Pito?
Through Your Worship to Councillor Porter, that sounds like a great question for our Director of Operations.
So we were planning to start curbing work last week. Due to the rains, we have been delayed a few days. However, we still feel we have enough time to get everything finished, providing the weather cooperates. But it's still looking good to get everything complete up to 13th Street as we planned.
Thank you very much for that, Your Worship. You have, let's just hope that and hope everyone that's Mother Nature cooperates with us. And thank you, Jocelyn and Nathan, for this information.
Thank you.
That's my report.
Perfect. I had a phone call today, voicemail left, and I called the citizen back, but it was from Linda Brown on 6th Street Northeast. She phoned to comment to say she has never seen her street cleaned better than it was today. But I believe Miss Legault would be, she figured that's who it was. So if you could pass that on, I appreciate it. And then the other question that's come up that I'd just like to have some clarification for citizens for is everybody's favorite Angle Road on the island going from to the MNP building. Maybe whose it is, whose responsibility it is, and we can clear it all up here today.
Thank you, Your Worship, for that question. I think I'd probably start by that. It's not a legal road, but it is
It's
a
not
road
a
on
legal
private
road.
property. There's an agreement between the RM and the city that's long-standing that the city is responsible for snow clearing during the winter on that road, but the RM is responsible for grading and graveling that road. So if citizens have a concern that they're seeing on the road during the summer and during related to gravel, you can contact the RM at Portage at 204-857-3821. That's their general number, or email info@RM at Portage, and they will respond to your request.
Perfect. Just it's ported exhibition land though, is that correct?
That is correct. There is a long-standing agreement related to the creation of Stride Place that has responsibility for maintenance of the roads around that area.
So when somebody says, why don't they pave it already? Which they may have said on Facebook a few times in the last few days. Who would they send that question to?
It's owned by the Industrial Exhibition, so I would suspect that would be the best question for them.
Perfect. Thank you. Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I can just, tack on to that, not to belabor the issue. That's the Angle Road we know that goes from by the MNP building around to the, I believe it's the west side of Stride. What about let's call it the golf course road? Is it the same agreement in regards to grading that and keeping that gone as well? Is it strictly the RM's responsibility?
Through Your Worship, to Councillor Meyer, the frontage of the Industrial X property up towards the golf course, I believe, falls under that agreement. I am not 100% clear when you enter the parking lot of the golf course. I suspect that is their responsibility, but I do not know that for sure.
Okay, I'm just more concerned about the road to that parking lot. I think I probably took out a front shock there the other day, but it's just, I just didn't actually even know who to call myself, if it was the REM, the city, or if there's a combined effort to keep that road maintained, or if it's the responsibility of the Industrial Exhibition.
Through Your Worship, to Councillor Meyer, that during the summer would be the responsibility of the RM. I would suggest you bring forward your concern there, and I would remind you that the speed limit is 30 kilometers an hour.
Just to note, the grader was over there today.
Good, and I went 29.5 kilometers per hour.
Thank you. If nothing else for transportation, Public Safety Committee, Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Public Safety Committee has no report in committee this evening. However, I would like to direct a question to our city manager around bylaw enforcement. And we've had a lot of discussion. I've been asked a number of times as a councillor, if I have a complaint about something about bylaw related, what is the process that I can follow to lodge a bylaw complaint and get action on it?
Through Your Worship, to Councillor Massey, there's a number of ways you can bring forward a bylaw complaint. The first and probably quickest way to do it is to call bylaw. If it's more urgent in nature, that would be the most prominent way to do it. You can do that by calling 204-239-8326. That includes animal control related issues. A number of the issues that came up tonight in the public hearing regarding blocking of a snowplow or blocking of a driveway, I would suggest you would call the number and try to get prompt response that way. You can also email them at bylaw@city-plap.com is a way. Obviously, you might not get as immediate of a response. We also have the ability to submit your concerns through the app or through our service requests on the website, which are, again, are not meant for urgent responses, but more just a general concern. Those would be the most used ways to do it.
Thank you.
If I may actually add as well, we do track the complaints that come in, and so when we have concerns brought forward, we can see if those were properly logged and how they were dealt with, and it's something we monitor carefully. So it's always, I would always encourage residents, if they feel that they're not being responded, sometimes they feel they don't want to bother bylaw, or if they brought up a concern once that they don't want to bring it up again. I would concern if it continues to be an issue to log those concerns so we can track them and make sure that the areas and issues are properly monitored.
Great point. Anything else? We will adjourn committee at 7:05 p.m. Have a great evening, everyone.